You're on a walk and your dog freezes at a single patch of grass and just sniffs. And sniffs, you give the leash a little tug. Come on, let's go. But here's the thing, your dog isn't being slow or stubborn or stalling. In that moment, it's doing something its body was built for, something we can barely even imagine. It's reading. That tuft of grass is a page packed with news, and your dog is taking it all in. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what's happening down there at the end of the leash, the almost unbelievable machinery inside your dog's nose, the hidden information it pulls from the ground, and even how that same nose can sniff out disease. And once you understand it, I promise you'll never rush a sniff the same way again. Let's get into it. Let's reframe the whole thing first because it changes everything. Think about how you move through the world with your eyes. You walk into a room, you glance around, and in a split second you've read the place, who's there, what's going on, where things are. Vision is your primary sense. It's how you gather information about your surroundings. Your dog does that exact same job gathering information, reading the environment, but it leads with its nose instead of its eyes. For a dog, smell is the primary sense, the main channel through which the entire world arrives. So when your dog stops to sniff, it is not wasting time and it is not being difficult. It's doing precisely what you do when you look around a room, except it's pulling up a flood of rich, layered detail that is completely, utterly invisible to you. To really grasp how much information that is, we have to start with the sheer equipment your dog is working with. And it is on a scale that's honestly hard to believe. A dog's nose is not a slightly better version of yours. It is on a completely different scale. Here are the numbers. Inside your nose, you have around 6 million scent receptors, the tiny sensors that actually detect odor. That's a lot. But a dog can have up to 300 million. Spread out flat, the smelling surface inside your nose is about the size of a postage stamp. A dog's is closer to the size of a pocket handkerchief. And it's not just the nose, it's the brain behind it. The portion of a dog's brain devoted to analyzing smell is proportionally about 40 times larger than the equivalent part of your brain. Put all of that together, and by some estimates, a dog's sense of smell is tens of thousands of times, by some measures up to 100,000 times, more sensitive than ours. The numbers are almost impossible to picture, so here's an analogy researchers use. A dog could detect a single drop of a substance diluted across 20 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Or, put another way, it could find one dirty sock hidden in a pile of 2 million clean ones. Your dog can pick out one faint scent buried under dozens of others, the way you might instantly spot one familiar face in a huge crowd. Dogs are also wired with something called neophilia, a built-in attraction to brand new, interesting smells, which is exactly why a fresh, never-before-smelled spot can stop your dog in its tracks like nothing else. The nose isn't just a cute, wet feature on the front of your dog. It is their primary instrument for knowing the world. But how it actually works is where it gets truly strange, starting with the way your dog breathes. Here's a genuinely surprising, shareable fact that almost no one knows. When you breathe through your nose, the same air going in and out travels the same path, so you either breathe in or breathe out. You can't really do both at once, which means you can't smell continuously. A dog's nose is engineered completely differently. When a dog inhales, a special fold of tissue just inside the nostril splits the incoming air into two streams. One goes straight down for normal breathing, and the other, around 15% of it, gets diverted to a dedicated scent-treating region, where the odor molecules are deposited and held, instead of being breathed back out. And here's the clever part. When your dog exhales, the spent air doesn't leave the way it came in. It rushes out through the slits on the sides of the nose. And the way that exhaled air swirls out actually pulls fresh odor-filled air in toward the nostrils. The result is astonishing. Your dog can smell more or less continuously, sniffing in rapid little bursts, 3 to 7 sniffs at a time, sampling the world many times every second without ever stopping. That frantic little sniff, sniff, sniff isn't random excitement. It's a beautifully designed system running at full speed. And that system has another trick: it works in stereo. Now it gets even more wonderful. You and I can't wiggle our nostrils independently, but a dog can. A dog's two nostrils work separately, each one sampling the air on its own. And because the nostrils sit slightly apart and each nostril's reach is actually smaller than the gap between them, your dog's brain can tell which nostril a scent reached first and how strongly. Think about what that means. Just like your two eyes send slightly different images that your brain fuses into a single three-dimensional picture, your dog's two nostrils send slightly different scent profiles that its brain fuses into a kind of three-dimensional smell map. In other words, your dog can smell direction. It can tell which way a scent is coming from and which way something went. This is exactly how a tracking dog follows a trail. And here's a charming detail researchers have found. Dogs tend to start sniffing a brand new, unfamiliar smell with their right nostril first, then switch to the left once they've decided it's familiar and safe. So your dog isn't just smelling more than you, it's smelling in dimensions you've never experienced. But the strangest power of all is that your dog can smell something you'd swear was impossible: time. This is the part that genuinely bends the mind. Your dog doesn't just smell what is there, it smells when. Here's how. A smell that is strong and intense is fresh. It was left recently. A smell that is faint and faded is old. It's been there a while, slowly drifting away. And your dog is sensitive enough to detect those tiny differences in how strong a scent is. So by reading the strength of each smell, your dog can essentially sense a timeline laid out on the ground. It can tell that another dog passed by this morning, that a squirrel came through an hour ago, that a person walked here just minutes before, and crucially, by following whether the scent gets stronger or weaker, which direction each of them was heading. So that single patch of grass your dog is so fixated on. To you, it's one frozen moment. To your dog, it is a story unfolding across time: who was here, how long ago, what state they were in, and where they went next. It's reading the history of that exact spot. It's the closest thing in nature to a living time machine, played out one sniff at a time. And for one special category of information, your dog uses a completely separate nose you didn't even know it had. Because dogs have something we simply do not: a second smelling system, devoted entirely to social messages. Tucked above the roof of the mouth, opening just behind the upper front teeth, sits the vomeronasal organ, also called Jacobson's organ. It has its own separate nerves running to its own part of the brain. And this is the wild part: it responds to chemical signals that often have no smell at all in the ordinary sense. While the main nose handles everyday odors, grass, food, rain, this second organ reads the deeply social stuff. Chemical signals called pheromones that carry an animal's identity, its sex, its reproductive state, its health, and even its emotional state. This is exactly why dogs greet each other nose first, and why your dog so carefully investigates every single spot another dog has marked. To us, it looks like a slightly gross habit, but to your dog, it's reading an ID card. A single thorough sniff can tell it who that other dog was, whether it was male or female, healthy or unwell, relaxed or stressed, and how recently it passed through. Your dog isn't being rude or weird. It's gathering the most detailed social report it could possibly get. And this same astonishing sensitivity leads to something that can genuinely save human lives. Here's where a dog's nose moves from amazing to almost miraculous. Because dogs can detect odors at such impossibly tiny concentrations, they can smell things happening inside the human body. Many illnesses cause subtle changes in body chemistry, releasing faint volatile compounds in our breath, sweat, or skin, far too faint for any person to notice, but well within a dog's reach. And so, with training, dogs have learned to sniff out disease. Studies and real-world programs have shown dogs detecting the scent signatures of certain cancers, of changes in the skin linked to Parkinson's disease, of COVID-19, and more. Some dogs are even trained as medical alert companions, sensing a dangerous drop in a diabetic person's blood sugar or the subtle changes that can come before a seizure, and warning their human in time to act. Now, one important, honest note. This is a remarkable and still developing field, and a dog is not a replacement for medical testing or a doctor. This is general awareness, not medical advice, but it shows you just how powerful that nose really is. The very same instrument your dog is using on that patch of grass can, in other dogs, smell sickness that our most advanced machines struggle to catch. And as a final wonder, that nose may even sense heat. A 2020 study found dogs can detect faint thermal radiation with the tip of their nose, making them one of the only mammals on Earth known to do it. So what does all of this mean for you and for your next walk? So let's put it all together. When your dog drops its nose to the ground, it is switching on an instrument staggeringly more powerful than your eyes reading direction, reading time, reading the secret chemical messages left by every animal that came before, all at once. A 30-second sniff is not a delay in your walk. It is your dog catching up on absolutely everything that has happened in that spot. And that completely transforms what a walk even is. For you, a walk is mostly exercise, moving the body, getting some air. But for your dog, the walk is also the morning newspaper, the local gossip, the neighborhood social feed, and a detailed map of who's been around, all of it delivered straight through the nose. So the sniffing isn't getting in the way of the walk. For your dog, the sniffing very nearly is the walk, which leads us to the single most useful thing you can take from this whole video, and it's beautifully simple. So here's the practical part, and it matters far more than most people realize. Let your dog sniff. Build real time into your walks where the goal isn't distance or pace at all, it's just sniffing. Some trainers have a lovely name for it, a sniffari. You loosen the leash, you slow right down, and you simply let your dog lead with its nose and read to its heart's content. And this isn't just indulging your dog, it's genuinely good for them. Sniffing is deeply mentally enriching. It tires a dog out in a satisfying, fulfilling way that a brisk march never can, because it works the brain, not just the legs. A useful rule of thumb: a shorter walk where your dog gets to sniff freely can leave it more satisfied than a much longer walk where it's hurried along. You can even let your dog choose the route sometimes, following its nose wherever it leads. And remember that research, we've mentioned dogs that are allowed to use their noses more actually tend to be more relaxed and more optimistic. A walk where you drag your dog briskly past every fascinating smell is, from their point of view, like being rushed through an incredible museum and never once allowed to stop and look at anything. But a walk where they get to truly sniff, that's the walk they come home from deeply content. Sometimes the very kindest thing you can do for your dog is to simply stand still, relax, and let them read. So the next time your dog stops dead at a patch of grass and absolutely will not move, you'll know it isn't being difficult or slow or stubborn. It's reading the world the only way it truly can, in rich, layered, three-dimensional detail that you and I will simply never get to experience. Your dog lives in an entire universe of scent, laid invisibly over the world we see. And the kindest thing we can do is slow down, loosen the leash, and let them explore it. If you want to keep understanding what your dog is really telling you, all backed by real science, subscribe. Every week, we decode another behavior so you can see the world a little more through your dog's eyes and its nose. See you in the next one. This video is for general awareness and isn't a substitute for your veterinarian. Medical detection dogs are a developing field and not a replacement for professional medical testing or care.